The birthday party was supposed to be full of balloons, laughter, and children's smiles. But hidden beneath the frosting of a perfectly decorated cake lay a secret that could have turned joy into tragedy. And it was only because of one hero that disaster was stopped in its tracks. On a bright Saturday morning, families gathered in a community center decorated with colorful streamers and the sound of children's laughter. No one suspected that danger was sitting right in the middle of the celebration, disguised as an innocent birthday cake. The moment Nine Ranger entered the room, his nose twitched. Within seconds, his bark froze the room in silence. What he uncovered inside that cake would shock the entire nation. Ranger wasn't just any dog. He was a decorated police 9, known for his sharp instincts and unbreakable bond with his handler, Officer Daniel Harris. Daniel often said Ranger could smell the truth before anyone else could see it. The two had trained together for years, building trust through rescues, drug busts, and crime prevention. When the precinct got a call about a community birthday party needing extra security because of recent threats, Daniel and Ranger were assigned to keep watch. For most officers, it felt like a routine job. For Ranger, it would be the day that tested everything he had been trained for. The party was for an 8-year-old boy named Ethan, whose father, a local school teacher, had been receiving anonymous threats. Ethan's family thought the threats were meant to intimidate his father, but no one believed anyone would go so far as to harm children. Still, security was tightened. Parents wanted their kids to enjoy the day, but unease lingered beneath the cheerful music and chatter. As kids ran around with balloons and face paint, a bakery delivery man wheeled in a massive cake. It was decorated with bright blue frosting, toy cars, and a happy birthday, Ethan written across the top. Everyone clapped. But the second the cart rolled past Ranger, the German Shepherd stopped in his tracks. He sniffed the air, his ears straight, tail stiff. Then came the deep, warning bark, sharp, urgent, and unrelenting. The room went silent. "Easy, Ranger," Daniel said, kneeling beside his partner. But Ranger wouldn't calm down. He circled the cake, growling, pawing at the cart. Parents looked confused. Some laughed nervously. But Daniel had learned long ago, when Ranger barked like that, you listened. Daniel signaled for backup. Officers carefully moved the children into another room, while Ranger stayed locked on the cake. With gloved hands, officers cut into the dessert. Gasps filled the room as the knife hit something solid. Inside, wrapped in plastic, hidden under layers of sponge and frosting, was a fully loaded handgun. The room erupted in shock. Parents held their kids tighter, and Ethan's mother broke into tears, realizing just how close tragedy had been. But the story didn't end there. Investigators quickly discovered that the delivery man wasn't a real bakery employee. He was part of a gang connected to the threats against Ethan's father. The gun was meant to be smuggled into the party and later used in a planned attack. The cake wasn't just dessert. It was the cover for an assassination attempt. And without Ranger's instincts, no one would have noticed until it was too late. Daniel and Ranger faced criticism at first. Some parents were furious, claiming the dog had ruined the party and terrified the children. Others demanded to know why such a violent threat had gotten so close to innocent kids. The investigation dragged on for weeks, with media swarming the story. Daniel was under pressure, working long nights, while Ranger remained his constant source of strength. One night, exhausted, Daniel sat in the precinct with Ranger's head resting on his lap. He whispered, "You saved them all, buddy. Don't ever doubt that." Ranger's steady presence reminded him why they did this work. Not for recognition, but for lives saved. Eventually, police traced the plot back to a criminal network targeting Ethan's father for speaking out against corruption. Multiple arrests were made. The nation watched as the story spread. Headlines read, "A 9 saves children from assassination plot hidden in cake." Ethan's family personally thanked Daniel and Ranger in a small, emotional ceremony. The boy wrapped his arms around Ranger's neck, whispering, "You're my hero." Ranger, ever calm, simply wagged his tail. The birthday party that could have ended in heartbreak instead became a story of hope, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog. Ranger reminded the world that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they have paws, sharp instincts, and hearts full of loyalty. That day, Ranger didn't just save Ethan's birthday. He saved dozens of children, prevented a tragedy, and gave a nation a reason to believe in unlikely heroes. The discovery of the gun hidden in the birthday cake sent shockwaves far beyond the community center. Parents who once felt safe now questioned how danger could come so close to their children. The town that had gathered for laughter and celebration was now under the harsh spotlight of national media. Ranger, the Hero 9, suddenly found himself at the center of attention. Reporters called him the dog who saved the children. But for Officer Daniel Harris, this was far from over. The delivery man who had brought the cake was quickly arrested. Under questioning, it was revealed he wasn't acting alone. The cake was part of a larger plan, a weapon meant to be smuggled in unnoticed and used later during the party. Police traced his connections to a dangerous group targeting Ethan's father for speaking against local corruption. But here came the challenge. While the delivery man was in custody, others involved were still free. And now they knew the police were onto them. Days later, Daniel received a chilling message slipped under his car's windshield. "You and your dog ruined everything. Next time you won't be so lucky." Daniel felt the weight of those words, but more than fear for himself, he worried about Ranger. His partner had become a target. And with the media covering every detail, the criminals knew exactly who to go after. Amid the chaos, young Ethan couldn't forget the dog who saved him. He begged his parents to let him visit Ranger at the station. One afternoon, Ethan showed up with a drawing of the German Shepherd wearing a superhero cape. "A Ranger is my hero," Ethan said, hugging the dog tightly. For a brief moment, Daniel saw something pure: hope. It reminded him why their work mattered, even when threats loomed. Just when the town began to relax, danger returned. A suspicious package was found near Ethan's school. Panic spread instantly. Teachers evacuated children while police rushed to the scene. Once again, Ranger was called in. The German Shepherd sniffed through the hallways, his nose twitching at every locker and backpack. Then he stopped, pawing at a seemingly ordinary lunchbox. Officers carefully opened it to reveal another hidden weapon, confirming the criminals weren't done. The entire nation now understood this wasn't just about one family. It was about sending fear through the community. And yet, time and again, Ranger stood between danger and the innocent. News outlets ran the story for weeks. Families across the country wrote letters to the precinct, thanking Ranger and Daniel for their bravery. Children sent drawings, some even writing, "I want to be brave like Ranger when I grow up." But for Daniel, the fight wasn't over. He knew the gang was still out there, waiting. And as much as Ranger had saved them, the weight of responsibility grew heavier each day. Late one night, Daniel sat in his kitchen, staring at the note the criminals had left for him. Ranger, sensing his unease, placed his head on Daniel's lap. "You saved them once," Daniel whispered. "But what if next time I can't protect you?" The thought of losing Ranger, his partner, his friend, was unbearable. Yet, deep down, he knew Ranger wouldn't hesitate to face danger again. That loyalty was both Daniel's greatest strength and his greatest fear. Weeks passed. Arrests were made, but whispers suggested the gang's leader was still planning something bigger. One evening, as Daniel locked up the station, Ranger suddenly stiffened, ears forward, growling at the shadows across the street. A dark car idled there, its engine humming softly before speeding away into the night. Daniel tightened his grip on Ranger's leash, his heart pounding. "This isn't over," he muttered, and he was right. What came next would test them more than ever before. The sight of the dark car watching from the shadows haunted Officer Daniel Harris. Ranger had sensed it before Daniel even turned his head, a low growl, the hackles raised, a predator's instinct. Whoever was behind the wheel wasn't finished. For weeks, Daniel and Ranger worked tirelessly with the task force to dismantle the criminal group. But rumors persisted. The leader was still free, biding his time, planning something bigger. Daniel barely slept. Every time Ranger twitched in his dreams, every time a car slowed near his home, Daniel's pulse raced. He knew the gang wasn't just after Ethan's father anymore. They were coming for him, and Ranger too. One crisp autumn evening, the police received a tip. A large shipment of illegal weapons was being moved through an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. It was their chance to end this once and for all. Daniel was chosen for the operation, and of course, Ranger was by his side. The warehouse loomed in the darkness, its broken windows glowing faintly from inside. Shadows moved. It was a trap waiting to be sprung. Daniel whispered, "Easy, buddy. We do this together." As the team moved in, gunfire erupted. Officers dove for cover. Inside, armed men scrambled, trying to protect their cache of weapons. In the chaos, Daniel lost sight of one figure slipping into the back, the gang leader. Ranger suddenly pulled forward, nose locked onto a scent. Daniel followed, heart pounding, until they entered a side room. And there he was, the gang leader, weapon raised, aiming straight for Daniel. The world seemed to freeze. Daniel barely had a second to react before Ranger lunged. With a powerful leap, the German shepherd knocked the weapon from the man's hand, snarling as Daniel moved in to cuff him. But in the struggle, the leader pulled a hidden knife. Daniel's shout echoed through the warehouse, "Ranger!" The dog twisted, dodging the blade, but not without a cut grazing his side. Despite the pain, Ranger held strong, pinning the man until officers rushed in. The warehouse went silent. The leader was finally in custody. Daniel rushed to Ranger's side, hands trembling as he checked the wound. It wasn't fatal, but the sight of blood on his partner made his heart ache. "You saved me again, buddy," he whispered, voice breaking. "I don't deserve you." Ranger licked his hand as if to say, "We're in this together." News spread quickly. The gang dismantled, the leader captured, and once again a dog's loyalty had saved countless lives. Ranger's injury brought an outpouring of support from across the nation. Letters, drawings, and even donations poured in for the 9 unit. Ethan's family visited the hospital where Ranger was recovering. The boy laid his superhero drawing on the dog's bed. "I told you," Ethan said softly, "you really are a superhero." Weeks later, Ranger returned to duty, scar on his side but spirit unbroken. Daniel stood proudly beside him during a ceremony honoring their courage. The police chief's words echoed through the hall. "Ranger didn't just save lives. He reminded us all of loyalty, sacrifice, and the power of unspoken bonds. This nation owes him more than we can ever repay." The crowd rose in applause, but Ranger simply wagged his tail, eyes fixed on Daniel, the only recognition he needed. In the end, what began with a gun hidden in a birthday cake became a story of resilience, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog. Ranger wasn't just a 9 officer. He was a symbol, a reminder that heroes don't always stand on 2 feet. Sometimes they walk on 4 paws, carrying the weight of our safety with silent devotion.